The sun had barely risen as Agnes and Sarah walked down the familiar dusty road leading to their fashion shop. It was a path they had taken for years, through school, through apprenticeship, and now as aspiring designers preparing for the day they'd finally gain their independence from Madame Blessing. Agnes, gentle and kind, walked with a calm spark in her eyes. Sarah, ever blunt and self-involved, moved with a brisk stride, her face showing mild irritation. Though they were as close as sisters, their hearts beat to different rhythms. As they passed the usual morning crowd, they noticed an elderly woman by the roadside, bent under the weight of a large sack of oranges. Her body shook with each breath, her voice weak as she pleaded, "Please, my daughters, help me carry this to the junction. I don't have the strength." Agnes stopped at once. Her heart moved. "Let's help her," she whispered. Sarah crossed her arms with a sigh. "Again with this, Agnes? We've got work. Waste your time if you want, but I'm not waiting." With that, she turned sharply and walked off, her heels scattering dust. Agnes hesitated for a moment, glancing between the struggling woman and her departing friend. Then with a warm smile she stepped forward. "Come, Mama. I'll help you." Though the walk to the junction took only a few minutes, it meant the world to the old woman. When they arrived, she looked at Agnes with deep gratitude. "God will reward you, my child. May help always find you." Blushing, Agnes hurried back to the shop, only to find tension waiting. Madame Blessing stood arms folded, her eyes locked on her. "Why are you late, Agnes? And where's Sarah?" "She arrived before me," Agnes explained gently. "I stopped to help an old woman carry her things." Madame Blessing turned to Sarah, who stood silently in a corner, arms crossed. "Sarah, is that true?" "She followed one man to the junction," Sarah snapped, her tone edged with something dark and bitter. Agnes looked at her stunned. "That's not true," she said, her voice low. Sarah avoided her gaze, a flicker of guilt crossing her face. "I'm tired of her always playing the saint. Always helping people. This is business." Madame Blessing's expression softened as she turned back to Agnes. "Don't ever stop being kind. One day, that kindness will return to you." Something shifted between the friends that day. Agnes felt the quiet sting of betrayal, but her heart remained steady. Sarah acted unaffected, but a weight hung on her, a silent envy she didn't understand. They continued their daily routine, preparing for their freedom, an honored step in their trade signaling the end of apprenticeship and the start of their own business. But something between them had changed. Agnes felt a growing distance that Sarah refused to acknowledge. One afternoon, as they returned from the market, a black SUV glided to a stop beside them. Its sleek frame gleamed under the sun, its tinted windows giving off an air of mystery. The back window rolled down, and a calm voice called out, "Hello." A man sat in the driver's seat, dressed sharply. Then the rear door opened, and an older woman stepped out. Agnes froze. Her breath caught. "Mama?" she asked in disbelief. The woman beamed. "You remember me?" "Of course," Agnes replied, smiling wide. Her heart raced with recognition. The woman chuckled. "That day I was dressed for the market. I only came to buy fresh oranges for my son. This is my car, and this," she said, motioning to the man at the wheel, "is my son James. He just returned from the United States." James stepped out and offered a gentle smile. "So you're the angel who helped my mother. She told me everything." Agnes blushed. "It was nothing," she said shyly. Sarah stared at James, unable to look away. Her heartbeat quickened, not from admiration, but from hunger for what he represented: wealth, power, potential. James glanced at her. "And this is?" "My childhood friend," Agnes said quickly. "We live in the same compound." James extended a hand. "Nice to meet you." Sarah nearly melted as she took his hand. "I'm Sarah," she said with a softness she rarely used. James nodded politely, then turned his attention back to Agnes. His mother pulled out a card and placed it gently in Agnes's hand. "Call me. We need to talk." Before Agnes could say another word, the SUV's engine purred back to life. The woman and her son got back into the SUV and drove off, leaving behind not just a trail of dust but a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah turned sharply toward Agnes, her eyes gleaming. "I like James. He's perfect," she said. "And since you've got his mother's number, that means I can reach him too." Agnes raised an eyebrow. "Sarah, we're supposed to be saving for our freedom. Can we please stay focused?" "I am focused," Sarah muttered with a half-smile. "Focused on my future husband." Meanwhile, inside the SUV, James turned to his mother. "That girl, Sarah. She's beautiful," he said thoughtfully. His mother's face hardened. "She's the same one who turned me down when I asked for help. I went to her first. She refused. Agnes came later. She's the one with a heart." James's brows furrowed. "Really? I'm telling you now, my son. Don't be fooled by a pretty face. Marry character, not appearance." James nodded slowly. "Then I'll wait for Agnes to call." Destiny had already begun to weave its threads, and someone's heart was about to drown in envy. That evening, Agnes couldn't shake the memory of what had happened. The old woman's transformation, the expensive SUV, and most of all, the way James had looked at her, with calm admiration. She stared at the card in her hand, her fingers trembling. Should she call? Eventually, she gathered her courage and dialed the number. "Hello?" came the warm, familiar voice. "Good evening, Ma. It's Agnes, the girl who helped you that day." A delighted laugh echoed. "Oh, my dear, I've been waiting for your call. My son James wants to support you in your fashion journey. And he'd love to speak with you." Agnes hesitated but replied softly, "Thank you, Ma." Later that night, her phone rang again. James's voice came through gently. "Hi, Agnes. I just wanted to say thank you once more. If you're free tomorrow, I'd really like to take you out for lunch." Her heart skipped a beat. "I'll think about it," she said, smiling. The next morning, while sweeping the shop floor, she told Sarah. "He called you?" Sarah froze. "Yes," Agnes replied carefully. "He wants to take me out today." Sarah's expression stiffened, though she forced a smile. "Wow, that's great. James is cool. He's all yours. Try your luck." Agnes noticed the bitterness behind her tone but chose silence over confrontation. That evening, another luxury car pulled up. Agnes stepped out of her home in a simple, elegant peach dress she had sewn herself, with silver embroidery dancing across the fabric. Her natural beauty glowed in the soft light of the setting sun. From the window, Sarah watched in silence. As James opened the car door for Agnes, treating her like royalty, something inside Sarah snapped. "It should have been me," she whispered, as tears welled in her eyes and her fists clenched at her sides. At the restaurant, Agnes felt like she was living in a dream. The ambience was refined, chandeliers hanging above, smooth jazz filling the air. James listened intently as she spoke about her dream of owning her own fashion studio. "You'll have it, Agnes," James said confidently. "I believe in you. In fact, I have a big plan for your future." When Agnes returned home, her heart was light and hopeful. She rushed into Sarah's room, excitement bubbling over. "Sarah, the dinner was amazing. He's so kind. And he said he has big plans for me." Sarah forced another smile. "That's nice." But her mind churned with jealousy. A few minutes later, she casually said, "Can I borrow your phone for a minute?" "Sure," Agnes replied without a second thought. Sarah stepped into the toilet, quickly copied James's number, then returned the phone as if nothing happened. That night, while Agnes slept peacefully, Sarah made the call. "You don't know who you're falling for," she said coldly. "Agnes isn't who you think she is. Almost every man around here has had her." James froze on the other end. "What? I'm her friend. Just thought you should know," she added before ending the call. Sarah sat in the dark, her chest rising with quick, shallow breaths. She had crossed a dangerous line, and the consequences wouldn't wait. The next morning, Agnes hummed softly as she made breakfast, her heart full of joy. James had promised to visit again today. Her phone rang. It was him. "Good morning," she greeted brightly. But his voice was distant, heavy. "Agnes, can we talk? There's something important I need to ask." She stopped. "Of course. What is it?" He paused. "Last night, I got a call. Someone said, you're not who you seem. That you've been with many men. That you're a prostitute." The spoon fell from her hand. "What?" "They said almost every man in your area has been with you." Tears filled her eyes. "That's not true, James. I swear. I've never been with anyone. I'm a virgin." There was silence. Then James spoke again, his voice shaking. "You are." "Yes." Her voice cracked. "Why would someone lie like that?" "Do you know who might have called?" he asked. She thought for a moment. Then her breath caught. Her chest tightened. "James. Did the person say she was my friend?" "Yes." She closed her eyes in disbelief. "It was Sarah." "What?" "Yes. She's been different ever since we met you. She took your number from my phone. I didn't think anything of it. Until now." James's jaw clenched. "We're going to her house right now." Moments later, James and Agnes stood outside Sarah's door. She opened it wearing her wrapper, surprised to see them. "Agnes?" "James. What's going on?" James stepped forward. "Did you call me last night and lie about Agnes?" Sarah's eyes dotted nervously. "Me? No. Why would I?" "You told me she was a prostitute. That every man around had been with her." Sarah's lips trembled. I was angry. I'm sorry." Agnes's eyes were wet with tears. "Why, Sarah? Why would you do this to me?" Sarah looked down, ashamed. "Because I liked him too. And you always get everything. Everyone praises you. I just wanted something of my own." James turned to Agnes. "You were right. She's not your friend." Agnes stood silently, heartbroken. Not over James, but over Sarah, the girl she'd grown up with. The one who used to share food and laughter. Now a stranger driven by jealousy. Later that week, James and his mother visited Agnes's parents. Formal introductions were made. Wedding preparations followed. The ceremony was grand. Elegant decor, influential guests, overflowing joy. Sarah didn't attend. From behind her curtain, she watched as the wedding convoy rolled away, taking with it the future she had tried to steal. Agnes left for the airport, off to begin a new life abroad with James. Her room sat in silence, dark and empty, but the weight in her heart was heavier than anything she packed. Weeks passed. One night, Sarah sat alone on her thin mattress, scrolling through Facebook. She paused when she came across Agnes's profile. There she was, glowing in pictures, laughing beside James, her life radiant and full. Tears slid down Sarah's face, dripping onto her phone screen. She opened the message box and typed, "Agnes, I'm sorry for everything. Please help me. I'm suffering." Then she hit send. Now the decision was in Agnes's hands. Back in Texas, the cool evening breeze floated through the window as Agnes sat curled on the couch of her serene white-walled home, decorated with fashion sketches and fabric samples. Her dream was coming alive. James had bought her sewing machines, rare fabrics from across the globe, and was helping her launch her own fashion studio. She smiled as she studied a design on her tablet. Then her phone vibrated. "Sarah. Agnes, I'm sorry for everything. Please help me. I'm suffering." Her smile faded. The room grew still. Agnes stared at the message, heart thudding. After everything? After the betrayal, the lies, the pain? She stood and paced. She could still hear Sarah's cruel words. Remember the way she twisted the truth to almost destroy her only pure relationship. James entered, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate. "You okay?" he asked. Agnes hesitated, then handed him the phone. He read it slowly, then looked up. "Wow, that's bold." "She says she's suffering," Agnes whispered, folding her arms across her chest. James raised an eyebrow. "You don't have to respond." Agnes looked down, her voice shaky. "She was like a sister. We played under the same mango tree. And then, she tried to ruin me." James set the mugs down. "You have every right to ignore her. But I know the heart that carried a sack of oranges for a stranger. That heart doesn't hold grudges." There was silence. "Do you want to reply?" he asked gently. Agnes bit her lip, then slowly nodded. She picked up her phone and typed, "Sarah, I haven't forgotten what you did. You tried to destroy me out of envy. You lied, and it hurt deeply. But I won't carry bitterness. Tell me exactly how you want me to help." She hit send. Back in Nigeria, Sarah sat hunched in her dimly lit room. Her once promising life had crumbled. Madam Blessing had dismissed her the moment the truth surfaced. No job, no support, no stability. When Agnes's reply came through, she wept. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. "I just want a fresh start. I'm good at fashion. I've learned my lesson. Please, even if it's small, help me get a machine. I'll repay you." Agnes read the message in silence. The ache from Sarah's betrayal still lingered, but it was softened by the warmth of old memories. Laughter, childhood games, dreams shared under the stars. That night, Agnes whispered a prayer, not just for wisdom, but for peace. The next morning, she recorded a voice note. "I'll send money for the machine. Not as a loan. Think of it as grace. Use it well, Sarah. Do better with your life. Don't let bitterness write your story again." When Sarah played the message, she broke down completely. She had been shown something she never expected. Mercy. Then came the alert. 2 million naira received from Agnes. She stared at it again and again, as if it might vanish. But it didn't. It was real. Agnes had kept her word. The same girl she once tried to break had chosen to lift her up instead. A quiet nudge stirred inside her. The memory of the day she lied to James came flooding back. Her sharp words, her smug satisfaction when Agnes cried. And now, Agnes had given her the one thing she didn't deserve. A second chance. Sarah placed her phone down, sat beside it on the floor, and cried freely. It wasn't just money. It was forgiveness clothed in kindness. The next morning, she went to the market with renewed purpose. She bargained hard, every naira treated like treasure. She bought a brand new sewing machine, vibrant fabrics, needles, thread, and a small folding table to serve as her workspace. That evening, she rearranged her one-room space. The mattress was moved to the corner. The sewing station took center stage. She plugged in the machine, ran her fingers along its surface, and whispered, "Thank you, Agnes." Days passed. Then weeks. Sarah worked tirelessly, fixing hems, adjusting zippers, tailoring dresses. Slowly, her creativity bloomed again. But this time, it wasn't driven by competition. It was fueled by humility. One day, she posted on Facebook. Sometimes, the person you envy is the one God sent to bless you. Agnes, you gave me a second chance. I'll make you proud. The post went viral. Comments flooded in. Some praised Agnes. Others celebrated Sarah's transformation. In Texas, Agnes saw the post. She didn't comment. She didn't hit like. She just smiled softly and whispered, "Thank you, God." James handed her a cup of coffee. "Good news." Agnes nodded. "Sarah's changing. She's really trying." He kissed her forehead gently. "That's your spirit working through her." Agnes opened her laptop and resumed sketching for her upcoming fashion show, her first major event in the U.S. As she worked, her mind drifted back to that day. A sack of oranges. A woman in need. One small act had led her here. Back in Nigeria, Sarah finished stitching a stunning gown for a client's birthday. As she tied the last thread, she whispered, "This isn't just fabric. This is grace." They were no longer on the same road, but for the first time in a long time, both were walking in the right direction. The next day, Sarah messaged again. She wasn't asking for anything, just sending gratitude. "I'm doing better now," she wrote. "I've paid my shop rent for 6 months. I have steady customers. And guess what? I'm training 2 young girls in the neighborhood. I want to give them what Madam Blessing once gave us. I want to be better." Agnes smiled as she read the message. She replied with a simple line and a smile emoji. "You already are." Months later, Agnes returned to Nigeria as a guest of honor at a major fashion exhibition. Her collection stole the spotlight. As she stepped onto the stage for her closing speech, she noticed a familiar figure in the back, gracefully dressed, standing quietly. After the event, Sarah approached slowly. They looked at each other for a long second. Then Sarah opened her arms and stepped forward. Agnes embraced her without hesitation. "I'm proud of you," Agnes whispered. "You gave me a reason to be," Sarah replied, smiling. 2 girls. Same street. Same dust. Same dreams. One had chosen kindness. The other had learned it. In the end, It wasn't about who married James or who traveled abroad or even who had the bigger business. It was about grace, redemption, and the courage to start over. If you were in Agnes's place, after everything, would you have helped Sarah? Or would you have ignored her message and moved on? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.